Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the first time if you're new here. I'm Christina and I am a mom of 5 kids ages 18 months all the way up to 13 years old. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about how homeschooling has changed me. This video is in collaboration with my friend Kristie over at These Little Sprouts. I absolutely love Kristie. I love her content here on YouTube as well as over on Instagram. So if you don't already know Kristie, definitely make sure that you check out her channel. I'll link her channel and her video today down below. So definitely go over and check her out and let her know that you're coming from over here on my channel. If you're here from Kristie's channel, thank you so much for being here. I hope you stick around, are encouraged by this video. So how homeschooling has changed me, or what I've learned through homeschooling my kids. So I think I would really start with when everything shut down and we weren't technically homeschooling yet. And that is when we started even considering homeschooling for our family, like I'm sure many families did at that time and maybe are still kind of in that place of making that decision based on different things that are going on in our world and things like that. So one thing that I noticed right away is how much closer we have all gotten through the process of like being together more and doing life together more than we were. One blessing that came from everything getting shut down and us having to kind of just be here together all of the time is that I realized how busy we really were, right? Like all of the kids were in school full time. I was working full time. They were in extracurricular activities, and my husband was coaching the sports and all of those things. And we were and they were good things. Like we had church on Sundays and we had like ballet and sports and all of these different things on the weeknights and on Saturday mornings. And we were just running. So one thing that I really learned is to like slow down, and how important it is to slow down, like vital. And so that's one thing that I'm really thankful for, that I've continued to learn and grow in through homeschooling my children, is to slow down. And it is a struggle for me. It continues to be a struggle for me because I am the type of person that likes to get things done, to be productive, to feel like I'm getting things done. So sometimes it's hard for me, but I've noticed how important it is to do so, not only for like my own peace of mind and my own peace in general, and just being able to think and sort out my thoughts and be reflective instead of just in this go mentality, but also just for my kids, for them to get that attention of me slowing down and being in the moment and not feeling the need to like, if I can get something done, to get it done. So one thing I would say that it's taught me is to slow down and really enjoy the time that we have with our kids and with our family. Another thing that homeschooling has taught me is that homeschooling, or teaching our kids anything, is just an extension of mothering, right? So we've taught them so many things that we sometimes don't realize because it just naturally happens, right? Like we teach them how to eat, and we teach them how to talk, and we teach them how to walk, and all of these things. We teach them how to interact, how to make eye contact. These are all like major life skills, developmental life skills. We teach them how to love, how to nurture, how to be loved, how to give love. Arguably the most important things they'll ever learn, right? So it is kind of an interesting phenomenon, and I know that it just happens to be like ideologies and societal norms that are put on us, but we seem to think when they reach a certain age, like we no longer can teach them. And so that's not the case, and I really learned that. Like I always sort of like did elements of homeschooling in my home. Like always during the summertime, I would be teaching my kids, and I would be having them doing reading and math and just practicing like the skills that they learned throughout the year and learning other things that maybe they didn't learn. But I never quite thought of myself as their teacher. Even being an actual teacher myself, I never quite thought of myself as their teacher. And so that's one thing that I really learned, is like we are their greatest teacher. Whether we think we are a skilled teacher by trade or by talent or skill, we are still their greatest teacher, and we will be for the rest of their lives. And so I think that's one thing that it's taught me to like kind of change my perspective on that no matter where life takes us, like I should be their greatest teacher and their greatest influence in their life as their mom. And so I'm really thankful for that perspective shift that homeschooling has given me. Along those lines of being their teacher, I feel like another thing that it's really helped develop in me, both as a mom, as a homeschool mom, and an actual school teacher, is this idea that I've always tried to grasp, which is learning alongside the students, learning alongside your kids, in a sense that you are not like the all-knowing teacher of all things and they are just on the receiving end of the knowledge, but really developing this culture of like, we are a community of learners. Like we're learning together, we're always learning, we're always growing, and like modeling what that looks like to them. Like there's a lot of things I don't know, like let's learn them together, let's research it together, let's read about it together. And oftentimes I find that there's things that my kids can teach me. And so I love that feeling of it not being this super like teacher student situation in terms of like the person that has all the knowledge and the person that doesn't have all the knowledge. And I feel like that's developed me a lot as a mom, as a homeschool mom, and as a school teacher. So that is really special to me. Modeling what it looks like to be inquisitive, to grapple with ideas and critical thinking and all of those things. So there are a couple things that I want to touch on that I may touch on more in the future. And I want to tread lightly here because I know that there might be people that have strong opinions, either agreeing or disagreeing with me, and that is totally okay. So here's what I've learned, here's my perspective, and that is a couple of things about teaching and learning in general, whether it be homeschooling or in an actual school. And that is the whole idea of grade level and how fluid I now see it and how fluid I now realize it is, and how it is truly a construct and just something that was birthed more out of necessity, something that was birthed more out of like the need for structure and organization. And I don't mean that necessarily in a negative way, but I do think it can have negative impacts on kids in relation to like, in this grade, you should know this, you should be able to do this. And I think objectives and goals are great, but not when it leaves students or kids in general feeling like I am less than, I'm not doing good enough, I'm not as smart as. And so that is one thing that I've really learned through homeschooling, is that there's something really beautiful about that one room schoolhouse approach, right? Like years ago, even when schools were coming into existence, there were not grade levels. You were all learning together and you would learn different things at different levels, but you still had more of like a community experience of learning. And so I have loved learning how to do that more. It's interesting because you're so drilled in the public school system about being able to differentiate for different types of learners and different levels of ability and all of those things. And let me tell you, like, I've experienced the widest range, even teaching one grade level for 5 years. However, something about teaching my own kids who are actually different ages and undeniably at different levels made me realize that there are a lot of things you can just teach them no matter what their level is or no matter what their ability is. And so that kind of brings me to another thing that homeschooling has really taught me, is that it's not necessary to teach every subject in isolation, that it doesn't have to be this compartmentalized style of learning where like this is social studies and this is science and this is English and this is math, this is foreign language. One thing that has blown my mind that I have absolutely loved and has really ignited a passion for teaching and learning, reignited a passion for teaching and learning in me, is this idea of unit study, where you are studying a topic, but it connects to all of these different quote unquote subjects. So you might be learning about something that has a heavy like geography focus, but you're learning about history, you're learning about science, you're learning about art, maybe you're learning a little bit of a foreign language or at least about a different culture. And even in the younger grades, incorporating math into some of that has really been super special, and I have loved this. And I think this is something that will translate for me beautifully from teaching my kids to teaching my students, because I absolutely love how this helps us to realize that like learning, just like a grade level, is fluid, that there don't have to be hard lines between grade levels and hard lines in between subjects, that these things kind of come together and connect. And sometimes I think students can get stuck in just hyper focus on this one subject and not seeing how it connects to other areas of life, to real life. And so that is one thing that I love, and I feel like I've learned a lot through this homeschooling journey. Along those same lines is the concept of grading. Now, I am sure there would be harsh critics to argue against my perspective on this. I've always struggled a little bit with grading in terms of finding the balance between like grading to a T so that a student knows exactly where they stand, but also like where do you give a grade based on effort, and how do you show the student that although everything isn't correct, I see how hard you worked on this. And so I did not grade anything for my kids this past year. My perspective on it at this point is feedback over grades, growth over grades. So feedback and growth over grades. So I think it's more useful to give specific feedback about, you know, what your child or your student did really, really well, and then giving them a very specific area of growth. So this is a really strong piece of writing. It's really engaging. You use really great descriptive language, but we're gonna work on your structure and organization as a next step to make your writing stronger. They don't need 10 points deducted off for that. What they need is next steps, and what they need is real feedback, because how many times will a kid get a 90 but not really know why or how they could have made it a 100, right? So grade levels, subjects, and grading for me have become a lot more fluid in terms of my perspective of their purpose and value. So the last thing, I feel like I could go on and on about this all day because I have so many things that I have learned and so many things that it has taught me. But I want to kind of bring it back around full circle to something I talked about in the beginning of the video, and that is about being our child's greatest teacher. And I want to just say one thing that it has taught me is I don't want to have to struggle or battle against the outside influences that my children would experience in public school. The myriad of opinions and experiences and perspectives of all different kinds of kids coming from all different situations that may or may not be something that I want my kid exposed to. I am not talking in regard to diversity and understanding others and valuing others' experiences. I'm talking in regard to negative influences and influences that they would not get at home. So why as a child would I want them to go get elsewhere? So for me, one thing that it has taught me is I want to continue to be the loudest voice in my children's lives, no matter what. And I don't mean loud in regard to volume. I mean loud in regard to influence. So one thing that it has taught me is to continue to fight to be that greatest influence in their lives. Currently, I'm reading the book Becoming Mom Strong by Heidi St. John. And along with this experience of homeschooling, it has really struck a passion in me and a desire in my heart to just continue to fight for what is right, what I know to be right and best for my children and for my family. And the world can be so loud sometimes, and culture can be so loud and so dominating and so overwhelming. And so one thing that has really taught me and encouraged me to do is, even when I'm growing weary, even when it's not popular, even when it's hard, even when my kids don't understand, or even maybe a lot of people around me don't understand, that I have set a resolve within myself to fight for what I know to be right with God's help. So that is probably, out of everything, the biggest thing that it has taught me is just to continue to fight that good fight for my children, to continue to, yes, shelter them. If I think that they need to be sheltered from certain things, because that's my job, to watch over them and protect them mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of those things. So I'm gonna leave you guys with that today. Please let me know down in the comments below if any of this resonated with you, if these are things that encouraged you, if there's something that you think I missed that you would probably add as something that you have learned or homeschooling has taught you, because this is obviously not all of the things that homeschooling can teach you as a mom. So let's start the conversation down below. Let's encourage one another as moms. And if you are new here, I would love if you would introduce yourself down below. I love to get to know you guys. If you are here from Kristie's channel, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I would love if you would subscribe. I share all things motherhood, homeschooling, big family life, faith, hauls, all of the things here. So if any of that interests you, I would love if you would click the red subscribe button, click the notifications bell. If you guys are not already following me over on Instagram, you can follow me there at rooted_homeschool, and I'll also link that down in the description box below as well. I have some really great videos coming out next week. I have a huge announcement to share with you guys on Monday. I have a morning basket collaboration on Tuesday, and on Wednesday I have a homeschool goals collaboration that I am going to be a part of. I also have some really fun unboxings to share with you guys in the next coming week or so. So I hope to see you soon in one of my next videos. Until next time, stay rooted.